Hi everybody, it's Andrew Ainsworth Golf Academy. As always, a very warm welcome to you. Thanks for tuning in to watch the video today. And the name of the title of the video, to hinge or not to hinge? That is the question. So this is not some remake of a Shakespeare play. This is a serious question about the golf swing. I've been doing a little series on common faults that I see on a day-to-day basis. I said in my last lesson, I've been lucky enough to teach golf now for in excess of 30 years. Somewhere between 30 and 33,000 lessons I've given now in my lifetime. I've seen a lot of golf swings, seen a lot of great golf swings, also seen a lot of bad golf swings, and I've seen a lot of reoccurring faults. And this point about wrist hinge or wrist cock or wrist set, I've done various videos on before, but I thought we'd approach the subject again and talk about it. Talk a little bit about what wrist hinge does, wrist cock, whatever you want to call it. What it does in the golf swing. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Can you do it or not do it? Do you do it? So that's going to be the subject. So let's talk a little bit about what wrist hinge is. So really, when we break the backswing down into sort of small components, you could break it back, I guess, into three pieces if you wanted to. You could talk about what we would generally describe as a one-piece takeaway. So we go from our stationary position back to waist height. We get the club, in a certain position. I did a video on where we position the club on the takeaway. We won't go through that again. People go outside, inside, up too steep. We're not on that today. So this is our one-piece takeaway. What we've then got to try and do is blend in, ideally, some wrist hinge. So here's me going in to blend a little bit of wrist hinge, a little bit of wrist cock. And you can see at this stage in my backswing, I form what I call an L shape. And really the wrist hinge for me is just this action of the wrist cocking, sort of pointing the club, if you like, up towards the sky. I think where a bit of confusion comes in sometimes with wrist hinge is that people, if I just go down this camera angle here, you might see it a little bit clearer. So here's me putting in the correct sort of wrist hinge. Have a little look where that shaft is at that point. Some people tend to put the wrist hinge as more of a sort of a rolling sort of action. And you can see here the back of my left wrist starting to bend and push the club back and behind me into a pretty catastrophic sort of position. From here I would get incredibly flat and probably want to come over the top of it. So it is a certain specific way which we set that club. There are loads of great drills out there which can help you and lots of teaching aids. I like teaching aids. I think they're very, very useful, but I always try and get my pupils, my customers to try and do it themselves rather than trying to get too reliant on a teaching aid to do it for you. But I think they definitely have their uses, and I've used them in the past myself to help people who maybe struggle to get the feel of something. But some of my favorite drills to get wrist hinge are preset drills. Again, for people who've watched my videos over the years, this is a repetition of something I've done many times, but I know some of you watching this video will be new to the channel. So this is my favorite drill. We just get ourselves roughly into our normal setup position. We lift the club out in front, and then from here, I'm just going to point the club up to the sky. And at that point, the arms will bend, the elbows will be tucked into the body. But what I've effectively done there is set the wrist hinge, the wrist cock. Then all I've got to do from there is just turn my back to the target, my hips will come with me, and I've set the club absolutely perfectly in front. Absolutely great position. So we call this out and up drill. That's what I call it anyway. So we lift the club up, out, point the club up, turn the shoulders. Try that in your back garden, your backyard, wherever you can swing a golf club. It's a great drill. And my other favorite drill for wrist hinge is the split hand drill. Normal grip, normal setup. Take your bottom hand, your right hand for a right-handed golfer, split it well down the shaft, and then just make some sort of backswing. Because your wrists are split this far apart, your hands rather are split this far apart, it's automatically going to cock the club and set the club for you. It's a great drill. It's kind of one of those drills where you can only do the right thing. And then from there, you could set the club, take it up to the top, do it down that camera angle for you. Club's hovering off the ground, point the thumbs up to the sky, turn the shoulders, and I've got my wrist hinge. The wrist hinge for me is a major component of the backswing. And when you watch top players' golf swings, most of these guys and girls will put an element of wrist hinge in. Some start the wrist hinge sooner. Remember Nick Faldo, his famous drill back when he remodeled his swing? Set the club and then turn. Another good drill actually. Set, turn. But I think there's got to be some element of wrist hinge, because if you don't cock the wrist, set the wrists on the way back, you get to this point here, I'm going to resist the wrist cock. All I can do now is just bend my arms. And I see a lot of golfers come into the studio here and they're doing this sort of thing because they're not cocking the wrist, they're just breaking their arms. All sorts of benefits on the downswing once you've got wrist hinge, which we'll talk about in another video. So there we go, wrist hinge, how to do it, why you do it. Love to hear your comments on how you do it. I think it is the massive missing link for a lot of golfers to get power and consistency, is to set the club correctly going back. Think of the backswing as just a position to get yourself in then to attack the ball from. I can't remember whose quote this was, but I think it was something like Vijay Singh. He said, no one hit a golf ball on their backswing. I know it's an obvious thing to say, but it is just a move to get you to the right position to then start the downswing. Thanks for watching the video today. I do appreciate your time, and I do appreciate your comments that you make, and I will try and reply to the majority of the comments, because if you've got the time to watch and comment on my video, it's only right that I come back to you and say thank you. So the channel's growing nicely. Good to be back doing some regular stuff. I hope you're enjoying the videos. Any topics you want me to talk about, don't be afraid to ask, and I'll try and do them for you. That's it. All the best to you. I'm Andrew Ainsworth. Bye for now.